Welcome to Ag Shorts. I'm Kalen. With me is my father, Brandon. And we just got done talking about how the ranch has changed, but it also hasn't. What I'm going to ask Dad, and I think I have the answer to it because of my history background, is what do you think it was on the ranch that went from, we've discussed the kind of the yeoman farmer, like Thomas Jefferson once said, where you're really self-sustaining, maybe a little bit here and there goes out, but it's mostly focused on keeping your family fed and taken care of. When did that change for our ranch and go more towards a larger scale cattle production?
Oh God. I think after World War II,
Yep,
I think
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah, we were pretty much very, very small, and everybody was the same. It was the same way. You had small areas. You were just trying to sustain, really. That's what the Depression or the Homestead Act was about, settling the ground.
Yeah.
The government wanted people here, and you get here and stay here by being able to support yourself. And at the end of the day, what's important? You got food, clothing, and shelter.
Right.
And literally that's what our ancestors were surviving on. It was what you could go out and pick some eggs, eat some chicken. You don't want to eat too many chickens, you get no eggs, but we'll have a biology lesson on that later. But creating some grain, and they're, I'm sure, grinding their own grain or taking it to the elevator in here and swapping raw grain for milled grain or flour and bringing it home. That's a barter system that still is kind of a net wash, except that it does take much more to mill than what you send in. But again, that's to sustain. It was not on a high scale production. And then that certainly through the Depression, same thing. I mean, you come out of the Homestead Act just in time for the Depression to hit, and then it was even tougher. Because you had weather issues at the same time. You always have them, but the Dust Bowl days, farming practices, cause some issues. But then you hit World War II after coming out of the Depression, and that's really what pulled us out of that. And the post World War II, and I think that's really when that happened, is that people started dispensing and dispersing with things that weren't necessarily needed, but going other places for jobs as well. And
Yeah. And I'll,
I saw
I'll
my
jump in
great
there
uncles.
I think that this is where the history lesson comes in, because learning World War I and II, both in college, they were very similar, more so with World War II than one. But it was like the story that was told to me about Grandpa going and trying to enlist during World War II. They said, "Hey, we can't take you." And he said, "Well, what can I do?" And they turned around and said, "Make beef, like grow cattle."
Well, actually, I think more what happened with that is your great uncle was telling me, and we were talking about this very thing, is that he kept going to Butte, Montana. That's where the induction place was for the draft. And he kept going, and they would see his name and they say, "Well, you're from the, Rygate area. You guys raise beef?" And he'd say, "Yeah."
That
He
was
said,
his war.
and that was his war. And
Yep.
and they said, "You go home and keep producing beef.
Yep.
We need that worse than we need you."
Yep.
And he felt like a real, I mean, even into his late 70s and 80s, he told me he felt like a real shitheel staying home when he could be fighting with some of his friends.
And
And he
I
felt
completely
horrendous
understand
about
that.
it.
But
Totally understand that.
historically speaking, and now military speaking, that's exactly what they needed. It's 100% what they needed. So I think your initial answer of it was probably World War II that started driving us towards that. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Why.
And when that guys did come home, they got a taste of what the world was out and about, talking to other people. "Hey, where are you from?" "I'm from Brooklyn." Okay, don't want to go there. But they start to see the world in a personal level without being there through the people that they're with. And when they come home, they could then go anywhere they wanted to go. And that's when my family dispersed. They started going other places, doing other things that were not necessarily ag
30
related.
seconds.
So when that happens, then you are back again to being a individual, almost like you're homesteading again, only with higher technology. And so my great uncle or my great uncles started raising some cattle a little bit on a larger scale. Sheep went away, didn't need them. They made too much money. So we gotta try to go broke slow.
There you go.
See if we can meet that challenge with cattle.
There you go. Going broke slow.